Hey fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. I'm hopeful that you are watching this real time as either a Patreon patron, and thank you for your patronage, or as a YouTube subscriber, thank you for that. Or if you've gone the inexpensive route, please try to remember to link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. Amazon pays us for that. It's a couple of bucks a month. So please try to remember to re-link every time you watch the Pachter Factor, so we keep getting that extra couple of bucks, and it costs you nothing. So free for you, we get paid. That's the cheapest way to support your enjoyment of my brilliant content. If you can't do any of those things because you don't have a Prime account, I get it. Follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. I'm only posting anti-Kanye West stuff now, so you shouldn't be too offended by whatever I have to say. Hey fellow babies, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus. Hope you're going to have a wonderful holiday and a very prosperous new year. Let's get to today's question from Sifted from the Champ. Why are game development budgets rarely disclosed publicly? For movies and TV shows, we can easily find that information. For games, we cannot. Do you think that people's opinions on bad or mediocre games have changed if they do that they had much smaller budgets? Good question. I don't know that any of that is ulterior motive. I think it's, and again, I do this for a living, so I kind of know what everything costs. I'll make this easy for you if you actually want to know what a game costs. All you have to do is find the size of the team and the number of years they're working on it and multiply that times 100,000. And that's it. And game developers don't make 100,000 across the board like game testers make 30 or 40. Graphic designers make 60 or 70, and level designers make 125 or 150. I mean, it's all over the place. Management makes 200 maybe, but the average 100 is a pretty good number. So if you hear of a game, and I'll use Call of Duty as a good example, that has a 200 person team, and that's about right. I mean, you might find a stat that says 212 or 188 or whatever, but 200 person team. It takes 3 years to develop. 200 times 100,000 is 20 million a year. Times 3 years is 60 million bucks. I'm telling you right now, Call of Duty costs 60 million bucks to make. Are there years when it costs 65? Sure. And there could be external things that they do. There are things in the development budget like music, soundtrack. Sometimes they'll add stuff, voiceover, voice work. Sometimes it'll be Kiefer Sutherland. Sometimes it'll be somebody you never heard of. That costs a little more. But 100,000 per person times the team size times the number of years is right. So when you get into games like Elder Scrolls 6, which is really hard to measure, right? How many years has it been in development? Elder Scrolls 5 came out in November of 2011. So we just passed the 11th anniversary of Elder Scrolls 5. Is the whole Bethesda team working on it for the last 11 years? They're working on Starfield. They're working on other stuff. Go look at the producer, executive producer. It's Emil Pagliarulo of Elder Scrolls 5 and of Starfield. Same guy, Todd Howard, Emil. It's that same team. So no, they didn't work on it nonstop. So I don't know. I mean, how much is Elder Scrolls going to cost? My guess is that team has been working on 2 games for the last 11 years, Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, and they'll both come out eventually. And when they do, Starfield will be an early 23 release, and let's just say Elder Scrolls is a 24 release. 13 years times, knowing Bethesda, 400 people, so I can't even do that math, 5,200 man years times 100,000 a piece, 520 million that's what those games cost, 260 million bucks. That's real. And I think that's probably what they do cost. So, that's how you figure it out. And if you get a small game, Astrobot, you'll find out they have a 30-person team and they spent 2 years on it. Yeah, did it cost $6 million to make? Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's what it is. I think you can figure it out pretty easily. Where it gets hard, like I said, it's hard with Bethesda because they work on multiple projects. Where it gets really hard is companies like Ubisoft that will have like 5 or 6 teams work on a game. or Rockstar that has like 5 or 6 studios work on a game. So you're just never going to know exactly what the allocation of resources was to each individual game. And like I said, Rockstar literally has like 6 or 7 games in development and has for 10 years. I mean, you just never know. You never know when they're coming out. But if you get a game like BioShock from Take-Two, it was announced, I think, in fall of 19. It said several more years, but it was kind of a new studio and announced. They probably started on it in the beginning of 19. Didn't get announced the fall of 19. Will probably come out at the end of 23. So 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 5 years. Probably 200 people. So $100 million. That's about right. I mean, you'll be able to figure it out. So I can figure it out for every game. So I don't think that your ulterior motive, that they're trying to hide stuff in order to hide bad or mediocre games is the point. I think that the video game industry has just never had any incentive to let people know how they run or what they pay people or how they operate. And the movie industry is so highly scrutinized. Directors and producers tend to love to brag about how much a movie costs to make. So it's different, and movies.
Why?
Well, because movies tend to be more one-off and less franchise. There's no annual movie. I don't think there ever has been an annual movie. And it's also partly that if you're the director of a $200 million film, you get paid more than if you're the director of a $60 million film. So they like to brag about it,
Isn't that the same with games, though?
Not really.
You don't think the director of God of War gets paid more than the director of some little indie game?
I will tell you confidently, the directors of any Ubisoft game get paid less than the director of Call of Duty. Call of Duty is $60 million, and the directors get paid plenty. And Assassin's Creed takes longer, and the directors get paid not very much. It's because Ubisoft spreads the money around to 5 different studios. There'll be 600 people working on Assassin's Creed and other things. I mean, the problem is that Ubisoft studios work on everything. It's just not as efficient, and so not as easy to track as a Call of Duty that has a dedicated studio. But no, I do not think that because a game costs less that the director makes less money. I can tell you Apex costs like nothing to make, and the people who run that make tons of money. Fortnite costs nothing to make. So there aren't any $60 million movies that did $2 billion in box office, but there are plenty of $200 million movies that did $1 billion in box office. Everybody gets paid on box office, and box office determines how much you're going to spend on the movie, right? So you're never going to spend $250 million to make a movie that's going to do $200 million in box office. You will spend $60 to make a movie that'll do $200 million in box office because it'll make money. So the spend is based on how big you think the movie's going to be. But FIFA and Call of Duty don't cost that much to make, and they still do $1 billion a year because they're big franchises. You just don't have to spend $200 million to make them worth that. And God of War makes a lot, but I don't think it actually costs that much to make. Yeah, probably $100 million. Probably $100 million to make.
Yeah, that sounds.
But I'm saying it's not like GTA. I like everything I said about PlayStation. I like PlayStation games. They do a really good job on game development. Thanks for joining us on Pachter Factor. Happy holidays. I mean this sincerely. If you celebrate, have a really great Christmas. If you don't celebrate that one, then let's try Hanukkah. It's fun. If you don't celebrate that one, Kwanzaa, and my all-time favorite Festivus. So just have a fun holiday, a restful year end, a wonderful 2023. 2022 is not the worst year in living memory. It was actually better than I expected. I think that 2017 was really bad, and then then it kept getting worse, and then the pandemic came. I thought 22 was actually okay. The world got a little better. It feels better. Let's just be nice to one another in the new year. So happy New Year. Have a happy holiday. I will see you next time.